Very warm welcome back to you television viewers. We're at a stage in the race where we're approaching the grand finale. It's stage 3 of the Tour of Valencia. 23.5 kilometres to go. Lawson Craddock at the front with just 14 seconds on 3 chasers. Jungels, Velasco and Gregor. 4 riders of the original, 5 in the breakaway. The 5th man, Sander de Pestel, has been caught. We've had a counter-attack from Thomas Gloag. That's been neutralised as well. But the peloton, whilst you TV viewers were away at the break, has been thinned out. We got our first view for quite a while. Giulio Ciccone, the leader, was still there. I'm not sure how many, if any, of the fast riders were there at all. Biniam Girmaya, couldn't spot him in the red jersey. We saw Bahrain victorious working. Brian Smith suggesting that maybe Fred Wright might have been able to hang on.
Possibly, and very few riders have been able to hang on. We know the other day there that Fred wasn't able to hang on when it got a little bit more difficult, but you know, he was there in the first stage. We're seeing the back of the kind of main group now. Kind of difficult to pick out, you know, individuals here, but you know, I think it is from the helicopter shots Bahrain and Ineos towards the front of the peloton. But just look at this gap, Rob. Lawson Craddock, when we just saw him there, he wasn't looking behind anymore. He was kind of pushing on, 13 seconds. So the longer he stays out there alone with the 3 riders swap turns at the front, you got to remember saving that little bit of energy. Comes back, and you know, when you're using that energy, if I was in the car behind, a minute and a half, I would fancy this. Into the last 20 kilometres with these 4 riders, I would fancy this, because that's the best way of trying to get the result. But 13, 14 seconds, surely he's not going to hang out there with the 3 chasing behind.
22 Ks to go and anything can happen. Still a little while to go on the steeper sections of the descent. But the climbing's basically mostly done, save for a couple of little ramps, half a kilometre here and there. It is done for the day. It's downhill or false flat downhill all the way to the finish in Sagunto. This is going to be rapid. Jungels, Velasco, Gregor in that order here. It's the nicest ride and road they've been on for a while. Speeds of up to 60 km an hour coming down here. Still saying 1.5 minutes to the yellow jersey group. And we're hearing suggestions, as we suspected, that Biniam Girmay was indeed dropped from that group. But again, by how far, those fast riders? That's the question. We've not really been able to get a good look at them. And once more, if the fast riders have been dropped from the group, what is the desire, if any, to bring back the breakaway? Because there's no threat to the GC here.
No, it's all about the stage. And this is quite a sizable group of over 50 riders. We don't know what sprinters have made it in there. I just saw some red jerseys, very similar, Ineos Grenadiers and Bahrain victorious. So, you know, they were riding towards the front. You know, and the only reason why they would ride towards the front and try and bring these riders back is purely because of the stage win now. Because there was a case there that we saw a little bit of action with some of the GC contenders, but that seems to have kind of snaffled itself out a little bit. And this is just a case of, you know, riding to try and think about the stage win. But I really do fancy 20 kilometres to go, much of it downhill. If the 4 get together and you know, help each other, the 4 strong enough riders. We know, we've just talked about Lawson Craddock, we know Bob Jungels, Velasco, Gregor. The 4 really good riders that 4 up Team Time Trial, they're going to be hard to be brought back, especially with it being downhill, Rob.
Just looking at that group, it looks a little bigger than the one we saw at the top of the climb. But again, who was dropped, who's back on? Can't really see past 2 or 3 riders at the back there. The back rider in the grey jersey was Damien Howson, who switched teams over the winter. He's no longer with Lawson Craddock at Jayco Alula. He now rides for the brand new Swiss team Q36.5. 6 seconds now, and Craddock isn't far off being caught.
Yeah, they're almost on him now, aren't they?
K's to go, that's the banner. Reminder that Craddock, 2-time American time trial champion, Bob Jongels with 25 tremendous bike race wins in his career. Stages at the Tour, the Giro, and a monument in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Simone Velasco with 3 wins, all in Italy. And Jonas Grego, yet to take his first professional win at the age of 26. Another beautiful sunny late afternoon where the shadows got longer in Valencia. The brakes gap got nice and long early on, over 4 minutes. 5 riders were there. We went down to 4, then 3 plus 1, and we're back to 4 again because Bob Jongels is straight on to Lawson Craddock, who was the strongest on the final climb to Garbi today. He got 30 seconds on this group. They've pulled it back, and we now have a 4-up team time trial to try and hold off the chasing peloton behind. But with sprinters dropped on that final climb, the question behind is who is going to work to bring back about a minute and a half in 17.9 kilometres. They're going under that 20 k's to go banner. This is going to be a really interesting finale, Brian Smith.
It will. I think Bob Jongels showed a little bit of composure there. You know, he must have been thinking what I'm thinking. Lawson, what are you doing there? If we stayed together, you know, we've kind of wasted energy. But he went straight to the front and just thought, right, we've got a big opportunity, a minute and a half. You know, Lawson Craddock, we said he was out there for a little bit. You know, legs must be hurting a little bit. And now, because of that energy he's used, he's going to try and recover a little bit because he still wants to try and win the stage. That's a bit of a surprise, and it doesn't really help this group when you've got someone that's been off the front and now he's not working at all. If they hadn't caught him, he'd still be riding it alone. So I think at this stage he has to roll through. I think it was the wrong thing for him to do not to wait sooner. Now it's come back together. The only option for these riders is to, if they're going to stay away, is by helping each other.
Intermediate sprint to come in a few kilometres time, around 9k's time in Estivella. That's of no consequence to this group. Now then, Bahrain victorious with Matej Mohoric. Is Fred Wrighton here? I'm going to guess yes. I think that's him who just popped his face out.
At the same time we went, yes.
He knew we were all looking for him. So is this the day?
Well, I think with the power behind, I think in my personal opinion, I think that was a little bit of a mistake by Lawson Craddock there in pushing on. I think the breakaway had a big opportunity of staying away, but Fred Wright now with the whole team at the front. But I noticed Ciccone there just kind of waving the camera bike away. I think he's looking more of, and seeing it again here, they're thinking more of, they don't want the breakaway to come back. They want the breakaway to take up the bonus seconds, because you know that could come down to it. So we know that Ciccone finished, the sprinter Ciccone finished 10th in the first kind of bunch sprint he won yesterday, but they want all these kind of bonus seconds to be taken away. To be honest with you, they don't want to have a really nervy final.
It's down to just over a minute now. Look at this.
Gone. That's surprising that Lawson Craddock just put everything out there. I did say that even at 10-12 seconds he wasn't giving up, he was pushing on, and dare I say it was the wrong thing to do. He should have waited, and I think he would have still been in here with a shout of potentially winning the stage.
Lawson Craddock then dropped from the breakaway, and we're left with Jongels, Velasco and Gregar. 3 riders from 3 top teams. 3 teams who are going to be competing in the Tour de France this year, given UNOX have been given the invitation.
I think this is going to be really touch and go. It is going to be close, but you know the pendulum is swaying now towards the Bahrain victorious team, and you know with Movistar up there helping as well.
Aramburu.
Yeah, so I really feel for the breakaway. If Lawson Craddock hadn't made that effort in that final climb, I said it at the time, if best interests, the 4 of them stayed together, went over the top of the climb, they would have had another powerhouse in Lawson Craddock, 4 better than 3, and they would have had a better chance. But you know, sports directors tell the riders to do other certain things. You know, riders take it upon themselves, but I think they'll ruin opportunity here. They'll get caught inside the last kind of, I would say, 5 to 3 kilometres now that two teams are starting to ride them down.
Just keep your eye on this group to see if anybody's managed to get back in there. There are 3 jerseys from Intermarché. 36 here is Marc Soler. And who's there for Jumbo-Visma?
Germai's not there, definitely.
3 jerseys at the back there for Jumbo-Visma. If you're looking for Olaf Koy, he is wearing number 14, by the way. It's a bigger group than the one we saw at the top of the climb, however. And it's a 1-minute gap now, with just under 14 k's to go, with Movistar being the second team to commit to chasing. We saw Ivan Garcia Cortina dropped early on, so it won't be him. But Alex Aramburu's riding really well this week. Yesterday was up there with the very best on the climb as well. Into Torres. Sounds like a Liverpool Football Club song. Just under a minute. One long line and they are motoring. Beautiful part of the world away now from the hills and into the more of the flatlands. Not quite in the rice fields yet. Famous Bahia rice grown around here, Arroz Bomba. Close to the capital, Valencia. Another 10 seconds is shaved off. Twelve and a half kilometres remain. I think for the bonus seconds, it's probably looking all right, isn't it? But in terms of the stage win, you have to say that this is a great opportunity for it to come back together. There's a lot of firepower here, and they're eating into it.
I think it will. I said just a few kilometres ago, the pendulum has swung purely because of, I think, what Lawson Craddock did over that last climb, going alone and, you know, obviously trying to give everything. He didn't have it in the legs when he get caught. I thought, you know, why is he sitting on? We know that the reason now, because he didn't have the legs, which is, you know, surprising to me. But, you know, with the fact that Bahrain and Movistar are combining together, I think it's kind of no-brainer. It's going to be someone from the peloton. It's going to be winning today, which I always like to see a breakaway succeed, and there was an opportunity. Okay, it was slim, but it was again looking as if the breakaway is going to be brought back yesterday, and they got into the last 5 kilometres. But maybe a rider's mistake there in Lawson Craddock, and now 3 riders in front with 2 teams. It's going to be very difficult for them to stay away now. Like you say, the bonus seconds will be kind of swept up by the riders in the breakaway, but then it comes down to the bonuses at the finish, and I think they know that Bilbao can sprint and potentially take bonuses, but I think Aramburu and Fred Wright being in here, that changes the dynamics at all.
45 seconds. The tension ratcheted up a notch. Velasco riding well. Big day for Gregard. Bob Jungels, he's used to this. Quarter of a century of victories. Some of the biggest in the sport. Born again last year, wasn't he, with that Tour de France win? Big stage in the Alps on a hot day. He's since moved teams. He's into a team that won a Grand Tour for the first time last year. Hansgrohe, who took the Giro d'Italia. 10 k's to go here on stage 3 in Valencia. Had a look at the back of the peloton there, Brian, and the 3 riders from Jumbo-Visma did not include Olaf Koy.
No, I don't think I've even mentioned him. I didn't think for once that he possibly would have been there. I think if any of the sprinters could have maybe managed to hang on that climb, and it was always going to be very difficult, would have been ቢንያም Girmay, but it wasn't to be, and we now have, you know, Fred Wright and Aaron Buru. Well, it could be in the first stage, the 3 riders up there in the sprint. It could be any of them for Movistar, but I think we would be going for Aaron Buru. Nice to see him up there yesterday, but you know, going in the performances of the riders in the first stage, you know, they've got another couple of options, but definitely you can see the speed is up. This is going to continue all the way into the finish. Unfortunately for the 3 in front, it's just a case of Bahrain and Movistar having the bit between their teeth, and they really want to bring these riders back, and 40 seconds is nothing. You got to remember that there's cars behind this group, and it kind of foreshortens it for the peloton, so they're well in sight of the front of the peloton.
Did you suggest it was going to be a messy sprint, maybe with new kits, new faces at the start of the season? That's the sort of stuff that keeps us commentators awake at night, Brian.
Yeah, it was names. It's that, I know they're not here, it's that Soudal name in front of Quickstep now.
That gets me every time.
And not at the end of Lotto.
8.8 Ks to go, and it's half a minute. Time is running out, it's ticking away. The hourglass is emptying for these 3 here. Through Estivella they go. Looks a very pretty place from up here on high. No time for tourism today. They're into town as quickly as they're out of it. And they're on the way to Sagunto. 145 Ks today, 2 categorised climbs. The second was too much for most of the sprinters. 1,677 metres of climbing. Around 10 Ks back, Lawson Craddock was the sole leader. He was caught and then dropped by the riders he'd dropped. Originally a 5-man break, we're now down to 3. And the gap is just over half a minute. They're pedalling away for their lives. A rare opportunity in such a short stage race for a break to be allowed a chance. But look at this, Movistar still committing. Bahrain are trying to give Fred Wright that first opportunity of a first ever pro win after so many near misses. And behind the yellow jersey, Giulio Ciccone, he'll be hoping it just ends like this in the bunch, I think.
Well, this is what he wanted all along. The last thing he wanted was to be, you know, exposed in that last climb there. When Gloag went, if Ineos had sent a rider over there, Teo or Carlos Rodriguez, and maybe Vlasov had got there, the last thing he would have wanted was to chase a group down. But Thomas Gloag was fine, and it did look as if it was an Ineos Grenadier that was setting the tempo. He's fine with that. Ciccone's got the legs to follow anybody. He showed that yesterday. So they're happy. They've not had a lot to do today. It's been kind of controlled by a lot of different teams. So for Ciccone, it looks as if he'll be going into tomorrow's stage with still the leader's jersey on his back.
Local town named after one of the famous bits of local produce, oranges. Tarongers. We aren't far now from the final 5 kilometres of stage 3 of the Tour of Valencia. A big 90-degree plus turn here for the peloton, or what's left of it. Being led by Bahrain Victorious and Movistar. They've got this 3-man group now down to a gap of just 25 seconds. They're on the open roads to Sagunto. And Matej Mohoric has done quite the job here. Bob Jungels remains at the front of the race. It's a good early hit out in his new team for him. First race in Bora colours. Jonas Grega, the only man of this 3-up break to have never won a pro race, but they know that once the neutral service car goes past them, that gap is about to disappear.
Yeah, that's the demoralising part. You know that the gap is coming on under 30 seconds, but yeah, difference of another rider. I still think they might have been caught, even with the loss of Craddock if they stayed together. But we're never going to know the answer to that question anyway. But still, Bahrain victorious, and even more riders from Movistar committing. And I like to see this instead of just putting one or two up. But they're saying that Rojas is kind of dropping back a little bit. Just commit. Just take nothing by chance. Commit. Bring them back, and then think about the finishing sprint.
22 seconds. And just over 5,000 metres to the finish. Last little rise this before it is all downhill or flat. I said they weren't anything more really than half a K, and this is it. This is going to feel pretty horrible now for the break, isn't it? This terrain, the way they're riding behind, their seconds are going to be eaten up. They start bringing another man to the front. Interesting that Euskaltel have started to commit as well. Or are they trying to go on the attack here, Brian?
No, I think they're interested. Was it Soto that was up there in the sprint in the first stage?
I know that Vizcarra was in this group as well. Can't see too many more orange jerseys, or are they just helping Movistar? Several riders on that right-hand side, all wearing the Ineos Grenadiers jerseys. "13 seconds. That little uphill has been really difficult for them. Jongels with the 4 points and the 3 seconds at the intermediate sprint. A reminder though, he's well down on the GC, Bob Jongels. Nobody in this group dangerous. Started at over 10 minutes today. Another motorbike speeds past. Smells a heartbreak, this. Over that little rise and downhill once more. Into town, and Sagunto awaits. 4 kilometres to go. A couple of nasty corners where everybody will want to be safe and at the front. P3 before we get to Sagunto. They're through, they're around the chicanes. There's Max Soler here. 174 there for Euskaltel is Mikel Vizcarra. And this is Gregard. They're going to make it into the final 3Ks, but will they make it to the finish, Brian Smith?
I don't think they will. Kind of opens out into the big roads. Okay, through the technical nature there, they kind of held on a little bit. I just can't help thinking one more rider and it could have been a breakaway success, but unfortunately you can't turn the clock back. But on these big kind of wide roads and the run in towards the finish, it's going to be very difficult for these three riders to stay away.
Bahrain have committed and ridden. Is it going to be Fred Wright's moment? On Spanish soil last year, he came so close, so many times. Euskaltel do have one rider in there. Soto, I think it is, just behind. Movistar, remember, with Aramburu. Ivan Garcia Cortina has already been dropped. Aramburu as well, well, he'd like the bonus seconds too, from as well as winning the stage, because he's right up there in the GC. He could conceivably be the new leader at the end of the day. Remember, 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds for first, second and third.
Yeah, that's why Trek Segafredo, they're not happy. They want the bonuses to go away. They don't want anybody taking those bonuses. As you said, a couple of fast finishers up there yesterday can take some of these bonuses and use it to their advantage. they're kind of moving up and starting to get in the way at the front of the peloton as well.
Just 8 measly seconds now, but we're less than 2 kilometres from the finish line. It's going to go right down to the wire on stage 3 of the Tour of Valencia. This is Antonio Pedrero at the back for Movistar, who's given everything at the front to try and help bring this back. 6-7 seconds now, and Jungels just does what he has to do. He just continues to commit, continues to ride. He has Gregard here to roll through and do another big turn. Velasco will do the same as well. Everybody committed to give themselves that little bit of a chance if there's any hesitation behind. Just over a kilometre to go now, and they're still out in front. And here is the last kilometre. 1,000 metres to the finish line. It's a straight line and it's a handful of seconds. They can't start to think about the win though here, Brian Smith, yet.
No, they can't at all. And, the master across the front of the road now, they're thinking about the sprint finish, but they have to catch these 3 riders, and this is going to come down to the wire.
It's Bob Jungels in the green, Jonas Gregard there in the yellow and red. Behind it's Velasco in the turquoise jersey. They're into the final half a kilometre here. Last roundabout that they take on the left and then go straight to the finish line from now. It's just a handful of seconds behind, with Bahrain still committed, with Movistar in there as well. And Gregard, who's looking for what would be his first professional victory, is still riding away. It's a team time trial straight to the line here, and they've still got a decent gap here. They've still got a very decent gap as they come through that final roundabout now and head in towards the finish straight. This is a great opportunity for the breakaway, who looked like they were going to have their hearts broken, but now are going to have a chance to sprint for the victory. They've messed it up behind, it seems. And look at that. Velasco hits the front. Velasco goes, and Jungels is trying to come around, but it's Simone Velasco from the breakaway who hold on by just 100 metres. They committed behind. They tried their best, but it was not to be. Day 3 to the breakaway, and dreams do come true if you hold on and commit enough. That did not look likely for a long time, Brian Smith, but my do they deserve it.
I'm glad I was wrong. I thought they would get caught, and I thought it would be a sprint, and I'm so glad that I was wrong there, because that was a great entertaining final there, and none of them looked at each other. There was no hesitation. Everybody just gave everything they could, and the strongest man with anything left in the legs just won. Velasco was just that little bit quicker than the others, but you can see the sheer disappointment of Movistar just behind. But even now, there was no hesitation. They were just giving absolutely everything. But you felt here that Velasco, probably the quickest of the 3 anyway, was just waiting to pounce, and he did. And the others just had no answer whatsoever. But I think it came down to just, guys, we just have to make sure that we stay away from the peloton. I thought they would have needed Lawson Craddock to be there, but no, they played it brilliantly, stayed away, and unfortunately Movistar are left shaking their head.
It's a first victory of the season for Astana Kazakhstan, and a first win in 18 months for Simone Velasco. Sensational stuff. And there was a lovely moment there where all 3 of them congratulated each other. I'm thinking about Velasco here, because without that big long final turn from Jonas Gregard, I'm not sure that happens, Brian.
No, it's not often that you see that, and it's a case, I've been in a similar situation in a breakaway with Sean Yates, and we were almost been brought back. I think it was less than 30 seconds, and he turned round to me and he said, it's all or nothing, and I went all in, and he beat me in the end, just by the, he was the person left with most strength left in his legs, and he gave it everything, I gave it everything, and that was an opportunity that all 3 riders had communicated. They stayed together on that climb. They never kind of chased Lawson Craddock. I think that was a mistake, and they combined well together. And the only thought was to stay away from the peloton. If they get a chance to go for the stage win, so be it. And they did. And sometimes you get breakaways breaking down because they're thinking about the win. But I really do think that the group behind, there was a couple of Bahrain, Movistar down towards the back in the end. I really did think the bunch thought that they're going to be brought back and we're going to have a sprint. They were wrong in the end, and so was I.
It looked like it when they went to work, didn't it? Here's this final kilometre again, and here you're still thinking, surely they're going to be caught. But they weren't.
4 seconds into the last kilometre, they weren't even looking behind to see where the peloton was. It was just a case of go to the front, bit of big turn, and Bob Youngle's doing it here. At this stage, I think, look at the riders peeling off at the front, Bahrain, others doing the kind of last turn. I think they think, right, that's my job done. You know, it's going to come down to a sprint. And Youngle's, I think, into this last kilometre, he puts a big turn in here. And then when he swings over, as you say, Gregard puts another big turn in, and you know that was the difference. Velasco he was the only one that thought, I'm going to skip this bit, you know, I'm going to play this a little bit, you know, wisely here, and you know, he won the stage. But yeah, the peloton at that stage, they had hiding to nothing now. They kind of gave up almost as they came into the last kilometre and never committed. I was saying it in the commentary before, just get the job done, bring the three riders back, and then think about the finish. Don't think about the finish before the three riders have been brought back.
Griego's big turn. Youngle's trying to come around but not having the power. Velasco, the man with the velocity. It's Velasco, it's Youngles, it's Gregard. And then come those from Movistar. It built up nicely, didn't it, today? Thomas Gloag had a go. Lawson Craddock was away, could not hack the distance. These guys look like they've been dropped, had other ideas. Youngles, the clever head in the bunch. Gregard gave everything. Velasco, the man who took the honours. But without all of their committal, that win doesn't go to the Italian. He knows that. It's his first win in Spain. 2 days running we've had Italian winners winning for the first time in Spain. And Giulio Ciccone keeps the yellow jersey. We've seen the old Roman castle walls around Sagunto. Over a kilometre long, the walls in that place, looking over the town. This is modern Sagunto, or Sagunt in the Valencian language. And we're waiting for confirmation. The classified results, the top 10 of stage 3. Well, that'll feel good for Astana, Kazakhstan, won't it? Of course, they signed Mark Cavendish over the winter that had been hoping for a raft of stage victories and things like that this year, but it must always be a good feeling as a team manager, Brian. You've been in that position. Just get underway, get that first win out the way nice and early.
It's so important. I can't highlight that enough. It just gives so much confidence in the team, not just the team here, but the team in general. It's great. The last thing you want to do is be pushing for that first win of the season. It's so difficult. I've been in that. I was in that situation with Motorola. I won the first race in Europe for them, and that was, I think, in April, way back in '94. I was the first winner of the team, and they were always kind of fighting. The pressure was building. You don't want to be in that situation. combination.
Final, como antes apuntábamos, también había conseguido victorias de etapa para él.
That's it from Bob Youngles, who was close but not close enough.
Tell us the feeling on the finish line.
Well, to be honest, it was a bit of a suicide mission today because obviously we thought that the sprinter teams would control, but in the end I think the pace was super high on the climbs, and I think favorite teams, they attacked behind already on the first climb, so everything split up a bit, which was good for us in front. I mean, in the end I was since the last climb I was pretty much on the limit like everyone, and then unfortunately in the sprint the chain of the guy of Uno X dropped just in front of me, so I was a bit blocked, but I think in the end I'm happy to be there, happy to be in the final again, and just be able to finish on the podium here is it's a good success. Obviously it would have been nicer to win, but still happy.
Thank you very much.
Nice to hear from Bob Youngles. Of course, he's won some huge races in his time. Victory's a victory. I'm sure he wanted another, but has to be able to see it from the perspective of having those big wins in the bank. And he's been there, done that, got lots of T-shirts. It was a fair assessment of things.
I think you can walk away, the three riders there can walk away and feel successful because they were successful as a group. The three of them managed to hold off the peloton, and that was the goal first and foremost. You say it was a suicide mission because the sprinters may have controlled it, but the way I looked at this stage, I said it in comms that it kind of breakaway success written all over it, but the action on the last climb, the gap coming down, what Lawson Craddock did, I thought they might pay for it in the end. The fact that the team seemed to be riding it down, it got so close, but sometimes when that happens, that when you get closer to the finish and the gap is only a handful of seconds, everybody in the peloton starts thinking of the sprint and saving that little bit and having that little bit of a lead out, and they forget to be able to sprint, you still got to catch these three riders, and that kind of helped into the advantage.
En el mano a mano también, donde lanzaba José Joaquín Rojas, pero imposible alcanzar a los tres hombres.
Here they came again. Couple of little roundabouts, fairly straight. Nothing really getting in the way. Didn't slow anybody down behind. I think they contributed. It was simply that calculation.
Just watching here with Aaron
Congratulations. You must be exhausted after that battle. It's been amazing to watch. Tell us how it's been this day in the breakaway for you.
Yeah, for sure. Today was a very hard day. We rode full gas all day, and especially in the first kilometers, the bunch was just behind us, but we continue pushing, and then in the climb I tried to do my best, and finally we arrived here under the finish line in three guys, and I won the sprint. I'm super happy. This is a victory especially for our master that passed away just a few days ago, Umberto, so this is for him and for his family, and I have to tell a big thanks to my family and to my little baby Diletta and my girlfriend. So it's amazing to win here, and I hope to continue in this shape.
That's beautiful, Simone. In that last sprint, what were you thinking about your rivals? We all know Bob Youngles is really strong, but how did you wanted to anticipate to them?
Yeah, we saw before the start the last 500 meters with a roundabout, and I saw that there is a right corner, but with 200 meters to go, I decided to sprint, and finally it was good.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Ciao, grazie.
The win dedicated to the memory of Umberto Inselvini, who very sadly passed away a week ago, just here in the Valencian region. And he was working with the Astana Kazakhstan team, and who's been in the team for a long time.
Well, Julia, that was a very interesting stage, at least to watch as a spectator. But how has been the work behind, especially in your case that you were with the leader jersey of this race?
Yeah, it was a really nervous stage. When it's short like today, the stage we are always really nervous. Especially for me because I flat tire in the last 10k and I did last 10k with the wheel. I was a bit scared in the final. And then I say, okay, I try to go until the line because I say I don't want to stop at 3K and use the 3 kilometer rule. So it was a bit scary in the final, but in the end everything went okay. So we are still in the yellow and tomorrow we continue and we try again.
Who were you most afraid of today? Because we saw the breakaway, but also Bahrain victorious were totally convinced to go for it as well.
Yeah, I think they went really fast, especially in the final. Maybe it was a bit late, but yeah, it was really fast the final. And also on the climb, we did, I think, with a good tempo. Not a really good attack, but always fast. So. Yeah, it was a really interesting stage and tomorrow will be another hard one. So now we recover and then we start to think about tomorrow.
Did you have time to check a little bit the road book to see how it's going to be tomorrow's stage?
Yeah, I always check before the stage. I like to check everything. So I have time to do it.
Thank you so much.
Relaxed and in the lead, Giulio Ciccone. Here's the top 10 today. Simone Velasco winning for Astana, Kazakhstan, their first victory of the season. He wins from a breakaway with Bob Jungels and Jonas Grega in second and third. Alex Aramburu finishing fourth. Here is Simone Velasco.
Excepcional, felicidades, es Simone Velasco del equipo Astana, ganador del trofeo Leguelia, ganador él también de etapas en Francia.
Velasco taking today's work of art from the local artist.
Nuestra más sincera enhorabuena también para el cordón que tenemos aquí, que es Simone Velasco, recibiendo saludo también del director general de la
And Simone Velasco, first time on the top of the podium in 18 long months. Good solid rider from the centre of Italy, Velasco. And time for the champagne moment.
Pero hoy tiene que brindar también Simone Velasco con todo el público que nos acompañáis aquí en Sagunt, que nos acompañáis aquí en la línea meta. Esperemos que hayáis pasado ese final emocionante de la carrera. Piel de gallina viendo la persecución que se ha organizado en el día de hoy. Lo bueno que uno se apuntaba.
It was close, wasn't it? Just 3 seconds in it, you could see that. And it was Aramburu who finished fourth. And Brian, I guess that's going to add to the frustration for Movistar.
Yeah, you could see Rojas just banging the bars after the finishing line, and that would have put him equal in time, the 10 seconds there, equal in time with the race leader. I think courtesy of the points, depending on where he finished there in that stage, it would have been closer with the leader's jersey on count back, but yeah, a bit too close for comfort, that one.
So Velasco winning ahead of Jungels and Gregard Aramburu. Rojas, who you mentioned, then Fred Wright, Kuhn Bowman, Rui Costa, Bilbao and McNulty all in the top 10. But after 145 kilometres between Bétera and Sagunto.
Líder de la clasificación general, atención que
And here's the GC leader. This is Giulio Ciccone. 1 day down, 2 more days to defend. Of course, in terms of realistically winning the jersey, barring any sort of problem or accident on Sunday. It's all about tomorrow, Brian, for him.
Yes, I think he was hoping that would be the case, but it was a very nervy day for him tomorrow. Today he got through that. I think he's quite looked at by the sound of things, and the question from Laura there. I think he'll have a lot of studying of the road book tonight.
Tell us, we knew this morning there was a chance, but I was not sure. You took the chance.
Yeah, I assume I think the breakaway stayed away, no? To the finish?
Yeah. We barely made it, but barely managed.
Yeah, no, today was definitely, we thought was the best chance for the breakaway, and fortunately I had a good team in the beginning to help put me in there, and then Yeah, I was used to racing last year with the Volta with really good legs to be able to go from far, but seemed to be lacking them this early in the season, and took my chance on the climb. In the end, I wasn't planning to go solo. I just wanted to try and drop one or two of the guys and have kind of a even smaller group at the finish. I knew my sprint was never going to be that good, but in the end, it didn't quite matter for me. My legs. They cramped up quite bad, and there was not even a chance to hold on the flat road. So, yeah, tough day for early in the season. Yeah, I'm happy the breakaway stayed away though.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's nice sentiment for his colleagues in the breakaway today from Lawson Craddock, even though he was not involved in the final shake-up. Giulio Ciccone leads by 3 seconds ahead of the final stage. Pello Bilbao in second. Alexander Vlasov, defending champion, in third. It's all set up for a final big mountain stage on day 4. And Brian, plenty of actors ready to be thrust onto the stage tomorrow.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it because it looks as if there's a few teams here ready to race, and I don't think Barry and Victorious will give up, and I'm sure that Ineos Grenadiers will be exactly the same. So let's have a battle tomorrow and see who comes out top.
Well, here is Samuele Zoccorato. He's still the king of the mountains. Don't be surprised to see him trying to get in the break again tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day where the king of the mountains classification should be settled.
Para Samuel Zoccorato, que lo hemos visto la semana pasada en el Challenge Ciclista Mallorca y que de momento segundo día consecutivo al frente de la clasificación del Premio a la Montaña. Enhorabuena. Maillot blanco a continuación, el maillot del mejor joven de la general.
This is how it stands in the King of the Mountains classification. Rommel is at, well, that's 11 points back, and Halle Michael 12 points behind in third place.
Es el mejor joven, top 10 de la clasificación general, con el maillot Engel and Volkers, que se impone en este podio. El señor Emilio Viñas, también le damos las gracias, ¿verdad?, por su presencia. Ya son 3 años en el que Engel and Volkers está acompañando.
Well, the best young rider classification on your screen now.
La Volta Ciclista, la Comunitat Valenciana, Gran Premio.
Start of the day, Anton Charmig had been in that jersey, and there he is again.
Un equipo 1X que este año se estrenará en el Tour de Francia. Esto es invitado al Tour de Francia.
Even got the bow tie treatment there from local dignity. They dress up posh to give the prizes out here.
Con un danés de 24 años que ha ganado etapas en el Tour de Man, también que el año pasado disputó la Volta a Cataluña.
Really found its place, this race, again in the last few years after being absent from the calendar for a good 8-9 seasons or so. Ángel Casero and everybody doing a great job. 2 stages to go then. Except the weather hangs on as well. In Spain there's some really cold weather forecast next week. Not too warm this week, but it's very, very nice down there, and plenty to come again tomorrow. Slight time change tomorrow, by the way. Make sure you check your schedules. About a quarter of an hour later, Ryan Smith will be with